Welcome, everyone. The event is now live. John, please take it away.
Thanks, Victoria. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live Tech Talk, unveiling the hidden costs of Microsoft Copilot. This event was organized by the hardworking folks at Redmond Magazine, and it's sponsored by US Cloud, the world's #1 Microsoft support alternative. I'm John K. Waters, Editor-in-Chief of the Converse 360 Group of 1105 Media, and I'm joined today by enterprise software support experts Mike Jones and Josh Arias. Hi, guys.
Hey, everyone. Hey, John.
Hey, guys.
During his 26 years in the Microsoft IT space, Mike Jones has served as a senior systems administrator, a lead systems engineer/architect, a Microsoft design architect, and a senior solutions architect, effectively spanning the Microsoft corporate partner ecosystem. Josh Arias is a hands-on solutions expert who works directly with US Cloud partners. I'm looking forward to this conversation, but I've got to do just a little bit of housekeeping. This Tech Talk is being recorded for later access. Keep an eye out for an email with a link to that recording. It'll be coming your way in the next few days. Our sponsor has provided some extra resources you won't want to miss. They're available now on your console. At the end of this conversation, we will have a 5 to 10 minute Q&A. Please type your questions into the Q&A box as they occur to you. We'll do our very best to get to all of them. Now I'm going to take just one more minute to clarify what we'll be talking about today. In just a few short years, AI has found its way into a remarkable range of tools and solutions, effectively reshaping the way we engage with technology in the workplace. Microsoft's AI-powered Copilot family of chatbots is a leading example of this trend. Initially a tool aimed at software developers via GitHub, Copilot has been integrated with Microsoft's category-leading productivity applications in Microsoft 365, including Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, and Teams. This, if nothing else, makes it critically important to understand fully the impact of this technology on your organization. During our conversation today, my guests are going to tighten the lens on Microsoft Copilot to provide some much-needed clarity and actionable intel for organizations contemplating its adoption. Okay, guys, maybe we'll just start with a basic question. How does Copilot differ from other AI tools in the market, particularly in terms of its integration with Microsoft 365?
Yeah, so there's a lot of information on this topic. John and everyone on the call. So we're going to try and get through as much as we can to give an overview and education and some things to look out for from a customer aspect of this. But really where I see the big differentiators between Microsoft's AI-powered Copilot product versus some of the other ones, and when I say other ones, we're usually referring to like OpenAI's GPT-4. We're talking about Google's Bert system, Amazon Lex. Those are kind of the top ones out there that are kind of competing in a way with Microsoft Copilot. And really, I'd say kind of the big differentiators between Microsoft's offering and some of the other ones really goes to around the integration to the application or the collaboration stack of products that you're using. It's around the productivity around Office 365. It's the infrastructure applications that are already tied to your existing organizations that really stands out from a Microsoft aspect of where they really integrated their AI and generative AI product stack on top of their productivity suite. So that's where we see a lot of difference in this space between OpenAI's product in GPT-4 or Google Bert system and Amazon Lex. It really comes down to what products or existing technologies are you running within your infrastructure that can leverage those different types of generative AI and more integrated products within your environments.
When I talk to people about this, I hear a lot of people talk about the 3 tiers of Copilot services and what maybe you could talk about that and explain what each tier offers businesses of different sizes.
Yeah, so when it talks about 3 tiers, that's really specific to the Copilot for Microsoft 365 stack. So essentially on the, in November, for those that don't know, in November, this is a very fast changing space, as I'm sure everyone is aware of, but in November of 23, so last year, Microsoft consolidated basically their versions of Copilot. So there was a Copilot for Windows, there was a Bing Chat Enterprise, there was a Microsoft 365 Copilot. And essentially what they did is they combined those products into two real offerings at that point. It was called Microsoft Copilot and Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, in January of this year, they actually added another option, which was Copilot Pro. So really the differences between that, so you have Copilot, that's a free version, it's no cost. It includes some basic features. If you go to a web browser, there's a Copilot option that you can go in and do basic functionality. So assistance with, certain types of application code generation and writing. It can write things like essays and poems and all of the more consumer-based applications that you would utilize AI or some type of assistance for. There's Copilot Pro, which is more for individuals, or what I could say the consumer base. And Copilot Pro essentially has all of those basic features, but also has more focus around the back end, right? So priority access during peak times. There's faster creation of, if you're doing image creation as an example, it helps with that. And it does integrate with availability within the Microsoft Productivity Suite. So what I mean by that is it can integrate with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, all of those Microsoft 365 components. Then there's Copilot for Microsoft 365, and that's really for enterprises or businesses, right? So that's integration fully within the stack of the productivity suite of 365. It definitely can provide an ROI for businesses, and we'll kind of talk about that later. It's really dependent on enterprise data, right? So the key to this is when you're looking at Copilot for 365, it's containerizing specific to your enterprise and the data sets within your enterprise. So the difference between the free product is, it's everyone, it's machine learning, right? It's generative AI that's taking all the information and data sets that it has available publicly and kind of combining that into a language model that you can utilize to do search for. Whereas 365 Copilot is more specific to the data and the language models that you create within your own organization and enterprises to utilize that for productivity. So those are the three real models within the 365, but let's not forget, this is a very expansive product portfolio, and it continues to evolve almost on a daily basis. So you have those three products that sit in the 365 stack, but let's not forget you have Copilot for Dynamics. You have Copilot for sales and service and customer insights within the Dynamics environment. So it hits many different evolutions just within Dynamics. You have GitHub Copilot for developers to be able to utilize that for developing code and organizing code languages. You have Copilot for security, which is currently in preview. That will really tie into more security and IT-based organizations that are looking to protect not only their data from a corporate standpoint, but also help prevent security vulnerabilities and exploits and cybersecurity issues, and be able to react and create workflows to help customers from a cybersecurity incident model. You have Power Platform for Copilot that helps with smart apps and creating applications specific to your organization's needs. You have Copilot for Windows 11, right? The list just continues to go on. There's Copilot for Azure, which is in preview as well. Those are products that are still being evolved and developed today. They're in preview stage, but essentially they're still developing those product stacks. So it really is expanding the entire Microsoft infrastructure and IT infrastructure as it stands today, as far as the product stacks that continue to be added to this portfolio.
Wow, thanks for simplifying that for us. Let's see here. I guess maybe the next question I have is about the pricing models for Copilot Pro and Copilot 365, and how those costs could impact enterprise agreements, especially for small businesses and family subscriptions.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk through that really quick. So there's different pricing models for each of the products that I spoke about, right? So there's different pricing strategies for each of those types of Copilot products that Microsoft brings to the table. So as an example, you've got your Copilot Pro, which was more for the consumers, right? Kind of that base mid model for Copilot to help with productivity in your Office applications and to help from search engine optimization and more day-to-day tasks, if you will, calendaring, smart messaging within replies to suggest replies to information, to take meeting notes, to kind of collaborate those together. Really good for more consumers or SMB, small businesses would kind of fit into that. And essentially it's a $20 per user per month model, right? So that's for the Pro. When we step up to the enterprise, it's $30 per month per user in that phase. Microsoft used to have a limitation on the enterprise, the 365 version, where essentially it was a 300 seat minimum that you had to commit to in order to be able to get that version of it. They've since removed that based on customer and partner feedback. So now there's no minimum seat requirement, but still it's a $30 per user per month for the Copilot services to use that. When you start to step into some of the other areas, as an example, for simplicity, the dynamics aspect for like customer insights, which if you don't know what that does, it essentially gives you content generation based on your customer profiling. It looks at how your website is being interacted with and gives you insights into how you can engage your customers better from a go-to-market strategy standpoint. That's on a per tenant per month level. So it's essentially a flat fee, not a per user, it's per tenant. So each Dynamics 365 tenant that you have would be applied that cost. You've got service and sales. Those are other modules within the Dynamics components. So sales, give you insights within your sales, help with your customers, basically an overlay to your CRM application. It's a $30 per user per month fee. The service one is more on IT operations and workflow analysis and assistance with whether it's internal IT or outsourced IT. It's more on a cost per user per month basis of $50, right? So each of these kind of vary in cost as you get through. And what a lot of customers really focus on for simplicity is more on the Copilot for 365, which is kind of that, what I would call the entry point into a production Copilot and generative AI solution. That's that $30 per month, per user per month cost.
Okay, for organizations considering Copilot, what financial implications should they be aware of, particularly concerning the unified spend and the potential support cost increases?
Sure. So the thing to remember that in order to essentially use what I call the enterprise version of Copilot, which is essentially gives you ability, that the $30 per month one, where 365, it gives you commercial data protection. It's enterprise grade AI capabilities. You do have to have a minimum of E3 or E5 licensing as part of that. So what is important to remember specifically around the licensing, we'll talk a little bit more about cost implications here in some upcoming discussion, is you already have your existing 365 licensing. In order to take advantage of Copilot for 365, it's an additional cost that you have to add on top of that. So most customers are probably familiar with, the E3 or E3 licensing, which essentially it technically doubles the cost of per user per month charge. So we'll talk about some of the benefits as well in some of these questions, but I do want to note that when it comes down to how does this impact the organization from a financial aspect, it's really around simple math times 2. That's really what it comes down to. How it's going to impact your unified support and things in the upcoming, I think that's still being determined by Microsoft themselves, right? I do see, if I had a crystal ball and I looked at that from the back end, I would say when I saw Azure really becoming a real thing in this market, that Microsoft was really focused on their cloud architecture and services and licensing, they wrapped the support around a cloud consumption model plus the server and user spend for your EA, right? So I would project that you're probably going to see a similar model for support as it starts to roll down, where they're going to be very focused on Copilot and AI, generative AI solutions, and tackling that onto a support style approach that they've done in the past for Unified.
That's fascinating. So let's talk about Copilot integration and its complexities. How can organizations effectively navigate an integration, including negotiating price breaks and considering alternatives to Copilot?
Yeah, so let's talk about. There's a lot of complexities. Remember, first and foremost, this is a very leading edge technology. This is very new in the development and in enterprise space for customers and consumers to utilize. So a lot of things it's the road not taken yet, right? So there's a lot of new things still being developed and determined. I mean, just looking at how they've changed and integrated the products that they had already created from November and now here we are in the beginning of April of this year. So in 4 months, they've already combined products and changed products and already released or slated to release. There's some of them are in preview, like Azure as one of them, Copilot for Azure, where it's going to help with cost optimization and really managing your cloud infrastructure from not only a cost optimization, but also a resource standpoint and security standpoint. So these things are ever evolving, but when you look at how organizations can really navigate this, it's really going to come down to a couple of things that we're really going to touch on later, even more so: training, education, planning, and visioning. You need a solid strategy for your environment. You need to look at cost versus productivity gains in your organization, right? Is the juice worth the squeeze? It's really going to come down to that. Is it something where it's right for your organization or maybe not yet? These things are going to continue to evolve. You're going to see competitors in this space. It's a very open space. You will see competitive products come out. You've got Salesforce doing their thing, Adobe, Oracle. They're all coming out with AI platforms for their product lines. And maybe your business is more tailored to looking at those third-party options versus the Microsoft version. It's really going to come down to how does it impact your productivity within your organization, and do the benefits outweigh the cost currently that you have to pay in order to receive those benefits?
That's great advice. Okay. All right. Training. Training employees on new technologies is critical, of course. What training support does Microsoft offer for Copilot, and how can organizations maximize its benefits?
Yeah, so first and foremost is adoption planning, right? You need to have a solid plan for your organization. With the complexities of Copilot, having different flavors of Copilot across different productivity technologies within just Microsoft alone warrants the time to invest in planning and making sure that your strategy is sound, on top of the financial aspects and the planning of the cost of that as well. So when you look at that, it's integrated everywhere. Copilot will be integrated into the fabric of everything Microsoft develops from here on out. That is a guarantee. From a 365 productivity, I mean, just from the fact that on the individual contributor level, how it can read emails, it can start Word documents based on information you provided. It can summarize meeting notes within Teams. It can do data analysis on Excel documents from an accounting or financial standpoint. It's just so ingrained into the product stack from a productivity standpoint that you really got to look at how can I enable myself to do this. So adoption planning is definitely first and foremost. There are a lot of available online resources to customers. Go to adoption.microsoft.com. Microsoft has done a really good job of road mapping, a lot of planning, a lot of adoption services, user enablement, training, and planning sessions that you can do on your own. Microsoft Learn is another great resource on fundamentals of how to use Copilot in generative AI solutions. So I encourage customers to educate themselves through Microsoft Learn. There's a lot of shorter videos that can help you on how to utilize it fully from a fundamental standpoint. So I definitely encourage going to Microsoft Learn. There's onboarding and capability exercises that customers can do. So when you do have a plan and you're ready to implement and looking to onboard these services within your organization, there's Fast Track for 365 as an example that you can get assistance from Microsoft directly on the Copilot for 365 implementations. And I will not forget, because I wouldn't be doing myself service if I didn't, is there's the partner ecosystem. Very important in this process to have a trusted partner that you can go to help with any and all of these stages throughout this process.
Okay, how does Copilot integrate with existing workflows within 365, and what are the best practices for ensuring a seamless adoption across departments?
Yeah, so I kind of touched a little bit on some of the integration capabilities, right? Like when we're talking about 365, the ability to integrate within, let's start with Word. I can draft a proposal based on data from a Word document for customers. I can do data analysis on financial numbers or projections based on an Excel document. I can break down sales data by type and essentially insert it into a table, right? It helps to boost your productivity, right? It doesn't replace the human element of what we do. It doesn't create the data. It analyzes the data. So the data is really the key component to all of this, right? It takes the data and it takes it to a next level and provides suggestions and content to help make our lives easier from that standpoint. PowerPoint, another way, right? I can take a Word document and ask Copilot to create a 5-page slide of content based on data, a body of data that I have together. So that's how it really starts to hook in as far as integration, right? And I talked about Azure, the one that's in preview, cost optimization, infrastructure analysis, security. There's Microsoft Copilot for security as well. All of these integrate in a way that helps make our lives easier day by day based on our job role within the organization. It also helps make data-driven decisions for organizations. So it's not just at an individual contributor level, it's also at an organization level where I can really analyze data better and collaborate that data together to make more informed decisions about my organization from a leadership standpoint.
Fascinating. Let's talk about the potholes on this road. What are the main challenges organizations face right now when integrating AI tools like Copilot into their existing technology ecosystems, and how can they be overcome?
Well, I always start with this when I talk to customers. Any AI platform is only good as the training it receives. It's machine learning, it's generative AI, right? So it's only good as the training that you provide it. And what I mean by training is it's modeled after the data that you're providing. So if your data is good, the machine can learn. AI can help. If your data is bad or muddy, it's not going to do as good as it could be from a productivity standpoint. If data is incomplete, if it's, when it comes down to Copilot, it's modeled after data. And that data can be incomplete, it can be biased, it can be wrong, it can be corrupt. So from that standpoint, the suggestions that it generates based on the data it receives, regardless of who's asking, it can be incomplete, right? So garbage in, garbage out, right? That old saying, garbage in, garbage out. That's when it comes to AI, right? So making sure that your data is structured in a consistent, methodical, and the data is relevant is a very key part to any of your Copilot or AI journey as you move down through this process.
Okay, so this is all coming, and it's almost like that rock in Raiders of the Lost Ark coming after Indiana Jones. So looking ahead, how should businesses prepare for the evolving, what I'm calling the evolving digital ecosystem influenced by AI technologies such as Microsoft Copilot?
You know, business leaders at $30 per user per month, that's nothing small. Business leaders need to determine whether Copilot is right for their business size, needs, and their budget, right? In addition to the subscription fee, you know, you have to look at extra expenses also that will come into play, such as making sure your data is collected and accurate. There's going to be development on the back end with that, with like Copilot Studio, where you can build your own copilots. That's a major undertaking, and I think a lot of customers maybe look over that one very important point, that yes, this is a great bleeding edge product that will help productivity and collaboration within your IT or your business operations, but there's a lot of undertaking that goes into deploying a Copilot platform. It's a significant commitment in not only resources and time, but cost. So you've got to look at how is very structured, again, back to adoption and planning, and how you're going to utilize this product stack to help drive productivity. All customers that I've seen that have started testing it, they all say, once I will never go back. I will continue to use AI and Copilot to help with my business needs. It's getting to that point. You got to get up the hill. Once you get up the hill, I've heard nothing but positive things about the amount of productivity that organizations save by doing so. But you've got to take in consideration the cost and time and resources it'll take to get there. You know, large customers especially, you know, when they look at that, it really does come down to a lot of times the benefits of productivity will outweigh that initial cost of developing and maintaining the platform, and then paying for it indefinitely, right? This is an OpEx model where essentially you don't just pay up front. There's an OpEx to this where you're going to continue to pay to utilize it, just like your licensing for Office 365. So it really comes down to large enterprises. If they have the ability to make that investment, it's really not that big of a hurdle to overcome, because they typically do have the resources and the time to commit to developing and maintaining the platform. You know, individual and small businesses, if you don't have, you know, the large language model inception, you know, or they call it LLM data, ready for that, it's probably not going to be the best move for you right now. As you prepare for that, maybe you get there, or maybe you use the free Copilot version, right? If it's helping to do more menial tasks to help with productivity, like creating documents or analyzing data to make decisions off of from a simple Excel document, or creating PowerPoint, right? There's a lot of productivity gains you can still have from the free version. It's just more around enterprise data and classifying and categorizing that data is going to make a big impact to those large enterprises.
So, you know, speaking of productivity, not all Copilot users are going to be created equal, at least at first. Talk about how Copilot enhances productivity for users with different levels of technical expertise, sort of maybe from beginners to advanced.
Yeah, I mean, on
category,
that, right, very broad category, so I'll speak generally on it. So basically, when it comes down to Copilot is not determined for any one level or any type of advanced or beginner user. It's really for the masses. It's really created. It's got multiple uses to it, right? As we kind of talked about or highlighted some of those earlier. You know, essentially, it's agnostic to the education or familiarity of the user. It's really understanding how you can use it to make your job better. You know, we all have different ways of consuming technology, whether we look at a technology and we say, okay, I see how cool this is. I'm going to change the way I work to use this product to make myself more productive. You have other people that consume technology and look at it from, wow, I see this as a product. I should see how that tool can help me, what I currently and how I do it within my way of working to make that tool make me more productive in how I do things currently. And then you have others who consume the technology from a standpoint of, I see the technology it needs to help me. It needs to change the way it does and works so that I can be more productive. So there's different philosophies on how we consume that knowledge, essentially. So when it comes down to, how we can increase productivity and technical expertise, it's education and training, right? There's a lot of information. There's leaning on your partners, your trusted partners, to assist with any type of, whether it's onboarding, whether it's training, whether it's implementation, whether it's development or ongoing maintenance of your Copilot programs. That's really where you can lean on your partner ecosystem. And Microsoft, quite frankly, they really are looking for the partners to really step up and assist with this. They can't handle this burden all by themselves. So generative AI and those cloud solutions are really important to have partners that you can lean on and trust to assist in all those different capacities and levels.
Can Copilot be customized to fit the unique needs and terminologies, I guess, of various industries such as healthcare, finance, and education? We kind of hear a lot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, the product stack is very broad. And I think we can all agree that today there's so many levels and there's so much complexity, but at the same time, there's also kind of an elegance to it, right? It's very broad in the stacks in how it can help organizations. So, I'll throw out a couple of examples that I can think of, like healthcare would be one, right? Which you asked about. It can help with data analysis and reporting. So Copilot can help, healthcares by automating data analysis and generating reports. So as an example, it can analyze clinical trial data. It can track those patient outcomes. It can summarize research findings in those trials. So it helps with the productivity and getting the answers that you need in an organized fashion. It can look at research papers. If you're doing a research paper, it can analyze the findings and summarize a lengthy research paper into a few paragraphs, highlighting basically the key findings within that research. It can help with data retrieval for patient data, where it reduces the time that you're looking for information on patients. It can quickly retrieve that data regarding that patient from an EHR or electronic health record standpoint, or other medical documents for that patient. Imagine a nurse that needs access to a patient's medical history during a busy shift. Copilot helps with that data and summarizing all the critical details of that patient care. There's finance, right? You've got the finance industry where customers are looking for ways to help streamline not only accounting and accounts payable, accounts receivable, but also financials on the back end, P&Ls. From that standpoint, you can generate monthly financial reports. You can look at P&L or profit and loss statements, and it can analyze balance sheets. It can help with cash flow statements. It can look at data insights for customers that are running in Dynamics from a reporting standpoint, whether it's explaining performance metrics to CEOs or building ad hoc reports. It can help streamline that process. You've got industries like the education space. It's another big one, right? Where it can look at helping instructors or teachers with tailored lesson plans, where it can help them in creating personalized lesson plans, quizzes, other resources for student learning. It helps with all of that. It can help with administrative efficiency. So it helps with educators and education staff around generating reports, managing schedules, routine tasks that are performed. It can help organize and streamline those. It can help from students that are looking to gain information on an essay or a thesis that they have, where it can summarize lengthy research papers, again, similar to healthcare, and make it easy for not only students, but educators and researchers to stay informed on all the latest news. So there's a lot of information in those, and that's just three different industries where I see a tremendous value in you go even closer to home. You can look at IT. It can help streamline IT workflows and processes within your IT structure and operations. It can help with gathering data for support requests, so self-service, if you will, or automated IT to help with challenging problems that may be happening either within your environment or from a support service standpoint, help partners solve customer issues. So it's just a very open world of things and possibilities that we've only just started getting down into the very beginning stages of.
That's just amazing. So you guys are both with US Cloud. Mike, do you have some final thoughts you want to maybe talk about the company and some of the solutions you're offering?
Yeah. So, to kind of summarize, AI is a very big world. I could probably go for hours of content talking about different segments or different sections of Copilot, whether it be from the business operations standpoint, adoption, cost, it could be security, it could be, services around how to structure that, how to plan and implement. What it really comes down to is, think of AI as a very new thing. And understand that it's ever evolving. It will constantly be continued and developed and nurtured along the way. So what you see today is not what you're going to see tomorrow. Understand that there are limitations to Copilot. There are limitations that haven't quite married into enterprise organizations and corporations today from a standpoint in a use case. As an example, you may have data that you have NDA on, and you may have to keep it completely segmented or firewalled from other areas of your organization. That impacts how AI and Copilot can interact with that data. So there are a lot of things to think about from that standpoint as you move down that journey. There are functionality gaps between how Copilot works as far as, data sets may be missing, or machine learning may not be learning in the capacity that your job or your organization needs it to. So there are absence of options in there. It's going to evolve, making sure that, assuming that Copilot works as it's advertised, an employee could jumpstart a project. They can take that foundation of doing that, and they can quickly move on, iterating a second draft based on Copilot's output of that first draft. It's there to help jumpstart your productivity within your workspace. The key to that is data. Again, I cannot stress that enough. The key to this is making sure that you have good data, structured data that you can utilize within your enterprise. That's all that generative AI and machine learning can really focus on is what you'll hear LLM or large language models. And you need to make sure that your data is structured in a way that you can be productive from utilizing AI-based solutions. I'll give you an example. So, to kind of leave you on a parting statement, essentially an example would be, let's say, car manufacturing industry. Let's say you're an employee at Toyota. It's creating a presentation, and they need it to show movement within their presentation. The AI, if it's properly trained, will take that Toyota-related product rather than using something on the web from one of its competitors. So it knows, based on the organization that it's helping achieve these results, that it's Toyota. It goes and gets an actual Toyota model car with animation on it to put it in the presentation automatically based on the machine learning and how AI is supposed to work. So as AI is being trained on the data that it's going through, if it's pulling that information from the internet, like the free version of Copilot will, it may have a different conclusion than it would be for an enterprise-specific AI product that's pulling information based on knowing it's with Toyota. So that's one of my examples on how it can help and what it should be doing as far as, productivity within the workspace. Lean on a partner. If I'll leave you with that, lean on a partner to help you navigate this complex world of AI. We have at US Cloud, we have over 500 plus customers, and we're seeing a huge shift to envisioning and design and practical use generative AI and specifically Copilot products worldwide. I would say about 80% of those customers are looking at, okay, what's this Copilot? What's this AI stuff really all about? They're still in initial phases. Very few customers have really made that big dive into it and have really put it into game time or production. So you're not behind the curve. And remember, it constantly is evolving. So work with a partner that you trust. Help with envisioning, make a strategy, make a plan before you put it into play and absorb that huge cost that you could potentially incur. So with that, there's time needed to build that. So make sure you're giving yourself time and an allotment to really understand how it's going to work within your organization and making an architecture off your Microsoft products to use AI in a productive way. We are here to help our customers, shameless plug. We are here to help our customers with that journey. And with that, I brought Josh Harris along with us. He's one of our account managers at US Cloud. And I'd like to have him kind of go through a brief introduction of who we are and our capabilities and how we can help. Josh, all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Hey, everybody. So as Mike said, I just want to talk a little bit about what we do here at US Cloud. And we'll tailor this a little bit to the conversation today, which is obviously Copilot. But here at US Cloud, we are the #1 replacement for Microsoft Unified Support in the world. And so while we do a ton of reactive break fix type of support for our customers, we also provide many of the proactive services. So really any type of proactive service, Copilot training, helping with adoption being a big one, obviously, we can offer our clients as well. So we're the #1 replacement for Microsoft Unified in the world. And we're the only company that's recognized by Gartner and Infotech as being a true one-for-one replacement. So when we built this company, we built it with that intention in mind, not just being a support, supporting Microsoft. We built it from the ground up with the intention of fully replacing anything that you'd be able to get from Microsoft directly. So while there are other third parties out there that provide support both reactively and proactively for Microsoft, many of them are they're bolt-on services, and it's another opportunity to earn additional revenue. Where at the US Cloud, this is all we do. So supporting Microsoft is the only thing that we do. We have no other lines of business, and it's really our goal to provide a choice for you all in the Microsoft support marketplace. And it's our mission to be faster, to provide, quicker response, quicker engagement, and we're able to do that at a fraction of the cost. And so, Mike talked a lot about how Copilot can affect your overall spend with Microsoft. Part of that spend also is going to increase your support spend with Microsoft. So the way that Microsoft support works is they are going to take a look back at your last 12 months of spend, and they effectively charge you a percentage of that spend for your support, for unified support, which really has nothing to do with how much you actually need the support. Whereas we come in and our offering allows you to buy a predetermined bucket of hours based on your needs. And it has nothing to do with how much you actually spend with Microsoft. So that's another thing too that I wanted to point out, and Mike mentioned it many times, is working with a partner. Obviously, we can be one of those partners to help with the training, the education, the adoption planning, to really make sure that you're utilizing Copilot in the right way for your organization, and not just the way that Microsoft, because obviously Microsoft, they want all their clients to adopt Copilot, and now might be the right time. Maybe now is not the right time. It is our goal to help you get on top of that hill, like Mike said. And we work with enterprise organizations all around the globe. So while our name is US Cloud, we do support companies globally. Many of the companies, even if they're based here in the United States, do have global support needs. And we work with enterprises all the way, Fortune 500, all the way down to small and medium-sized businesses. And again, our primary focus is that full replacement for unified support. So we do a ton of break fix, reactive types of cases, but we're having a lot of conversations right now, as Mike talked about, around Copilot. And I just want to show you, see if I can advance a couple slides here, because I think this is really more relevant with the lack of time that we have here. As Mike talked about, this is just a small sampling of some of the services that we offer our clients when it comes to Copilot, but it all starts with educating the clients and making sure that they're thinking about Copilot the right way. There's proper training in place, because there's so many different use cases, so many different ways it can be implemented. And frankly, most of our clients, they just don't know what they don't know right now. So a lot of it starts with a little bit more of just discovery and Q&A with some of our Copilot and AI subject matter experts. So we can really get a better understanding of how AI can help on the productivity side, among many other things, and not just, we have no dog in the fight how quickly or how deeply within your organization you adopt Copilot. We're more concerned about making sure that you're adopting it the right way, thinking about it the right way, and rolling it out when it's right at the right time for your organization. So we do things like, obviously, best practices. We talk through different use cases. We'll do assessments and workshops. I was looking through the Q&A before I hopped on here, and there was a number of questions about how can we get team training, and everything that we do is much more bespoke and custom. So we don't necessarily have these off-the-shelf workshops. Everything is going to be specific to your industry. Like Mike said, he just kind of rattled off real quickly 3 different ways that AI can be applied differently to different industries. But we're going to make sure that we are preparing these workshops and these assessments based on your environment, the technology you're leveraging, the industry that you're in, and specific use cases around that. Data security is another big one too. A lot of the questions or a lot of the engagements are actually starting out with companies approaching us saying, hey, how can we disable Copilot to make sure that we are properly trained, thinking about the adoption properly, and making sure that we have all our ducks in a row when it comes to security, because there are some security implications here as well if it's not rolled out properly. And then things like prompt engineering. Mike talked about different language, training the AI, and then we have dedicated support engineers as well if that's something that you need. Let's see here, and here's just a couple examples. I was talking with our engineering team a couple weeks back just to get a couple examples of how we've helped some of our companies or some of our clients roll out AI. And they, again, said, most of the time it's going to start off with a discovery Q&A, really just getting an understanding of your needs. And then, we've helped clients roll out Copilot in Word. Power BI is pretty, there's some really cool applications with Power BI, Excel. Mike talked about Copilot in Edge. And then just, generally in Windows 11, this is, again, just a very small sampling. But these are some of the different ways that we can help organizations like yours take advantage and implement Copilot. And then, lastly, I'll jump back a couple slides here. With our support model, the spend that you have with Microsoft really doesn't come into play. We're, again, much more concerned. Somebody's saying that you don't see our slides. John, can you see my slides?
I can see them. Victoria?
Okay. Sorry, I just saw somebody in the comments saying they don't see the slides.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll leave you with one thing here, one last thing here, and then we'll just invite anybody if they're interested. I see Richard already had requested a call for tomorrow, so Richard, looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow. But we are able to come in and provide from what we feel is a much superior level of both training and reactive support than Microsoft directly, and we're able to do it at a fraction of the cost. Again, we're a non-biased, third-party, independent support organization, so we're going to give you advice based on what we feel the needs of your organization is. We don't care how much you spend with Microsoft. That has nothing to do with how we price our service, the type of advice that we give. You basically come in, you purchase a predetermined bucket of hours, and then you can use those hours for any type of proactive needs, workshops, project assessments, for workshop or any other technology for that matter. And then you can also use this on the reactive side when you have any, break fix types of cases. So I know there's a lot of questions rolling in. I've got several more slides that I could go through, but I think, probably keep the conversation tailored to Copilot and make sure that we get some of these questions answered, probably be a good way to move forward.
Okay, let's do some questions here. We don't have a ton of time, but there is still time to type your questions into the Q&A box. We'll do our best to get to all of them. Let's see. Let's start with this one from Navid, who's wondering, what kind of skill sets does my staff need to properly use and configure Copilot Pro or 365? Talked about skills. Maybe Navid's looking for something more specific.
Yeah, and I'll try to answer that. Really, it's not really around, in my mind, the skill sets necessarily, as it is more around technical readiness of the organization. It's important, obviously, to have a plan and an onboarding and an optimization or a life cycle. If you kind of follow the MOF framework, where you've got envisioning, design, you've got implementation, and you got optimization and maintenance, and it kind of does this, this circle. Essentially, from a technical skills standpoint, there's a lot of training on Copilot for users, both from a support standpoint, from a development standpoint, and a user standpoint. And I think having a fundamental skill set from a training standpoint is very important. So practical application, how as a user, how do I utilize Copilot? What are the feature functionality that our organization has enabled for me to utilize it to help make me more productive? So a familiarity, obviously, with Microsoft 365 products is a must, right? I think it goes without saying. Outside of that, it's understanding the basic functionality of Copilot training and how you can utilize and access those features. From a technical standpoint, from IT operations and organizations, it's really more about training on the fundamentals of the Copilot and AI platform, right? Understanding how does this impact the organization. There's application development on that aspect of it through like Copilot Studio. Some of it's out of the box, so there's not a lot of need for that. But if you really want to customize your Copilot or AI strategy specific to your organization, you're definitely going to need developers around the application side of Copilot that understand AI, specifically generative AI and OpenAI product stacks. From a technical organizational standpoint, it's really about risk mitigation, understanding the risks involved, and how to structure your data in a way that still abides by your organization's standards. As my example earlier, right? If you're under NDA on certain information that isn't accessible to everyone in the organization, you have to containerize that data to a small subset of users through AI and only allow those users to have access to that information. So it's creating data sets and policies behind it that are really going to make a difference. And that's where you can lean on both, Microsoft's Learn, the Adoption Center. So adoption.microsoft.com is a great resource and a blueprint on how to do it. And there's also partners. Go to partners and have them help you with different types of training and enablement there.
Okay, we've got two questions that are kind of in the same ballpark. Let's see here. Jim is wondering, how is Copilot offering different for academic licenses? And then we've got Philip was wondering about nonprofit pricing available for Copilot for M365.
Two birds with one stone. I love it. So when we look at the nonprofit licensing structure, so Copilot for 365 is only available for A3 and A5 faculty only licensing. So keep that in mind as you go through this journey. Yes. Nonprofit organizations are eligible essentially for Microsoft 365 Copilot for free if they qualify for Microsoft's grants and discounts for cloud services. So you can, if you want to apply for that, or if you're not applied for that, you can go register your organization as a nonprofit on Microsoft's website. If you've already done that, speak to your EA team. There is pricing, essentially 365 Copilot for free capabilities if you qualify for that.
Okay, this is kind of a long question, but I think we've got time to get it in here from Lonnie, who's wondering, I run a PMO and manage several large projects at the same time. How can Copilot be leveraged to, quote, make me more successful? end quote. Smiley face.
All right, so kind of an open-ended. Again, remember, we're opening the cookie jar, so there's a lot of scenarios there. I think from a productivity standpoint, so again, if you go back, if you're a PM team or run a PMO, you're probably doing a lot of project planning sessions, tracking a lot of data and metrics as far as overall success of multiple projects. There's a lot of data analysis that Copilot can provide. So it can pull, all of the data and collect all of the data for all of your projects and statuses. It can do customer by customer trending on project success and milestones tracking. It can perform a multitude of different KPIs and assist with that. It can do meeting recap notes. So if you're doing regular status meetings with your customers on different projects, you can take all of those Word documents as an example and collaborate those into more key findings or meeting summarization that can provide that to your PMs as a synopsis or a status update on all your project status meetings. So there's a lot of ways that it can help. It can help with new customer onboardings and PowerPoint presentation templates where you can take a scope of work, a delivery for your customer or internal resources, whatever project scope delivery you have, and then move that into a presentation where you can do an onboarding on that particular project. So it can help create and head start all of that data into something that's more presentable and consumable to your audience. There's a lot of ways that it can assist on doing both analysis and summarization of tasks and repeatable scheduling in tasks, right? So it analyzes scheduling. It can assist with finding scheduling and times that work on an average basis based on your scheduling. It can take tasks that are repeatable, and I don't have any specific examples on that, but they kind of vary by customer. It can take those tasks and repeat and automate those automatically for you. So if it's create a weekly status update meeting with the appropriate notes from all of the last week's project status updates, right? It can help automate those style of tasks to make you more productive.
Okay, looks like we've got time for one more question. This one from Diane, who's wondering, does M365 Copilot work the same on desktop Office apps or only Office Online apps?
Does it work the same on desktop Office apps or only on Office Online? So simplicity put, it's the same. Think of it as if you have an Office 365 license, but you install the desktop version of 365, it's the same. Essentially, Copilot integrates with either whether you're going through the web browser or whether you're doing it from the actual desktop installable application. The product stack on the back end is still the same. So you're still accessing that Copilot from either one of those, and you're able to do that.
Okay, we've got a question here. I got to squeeze this in from Rob, who's wondering, can you provide examples of a company that didn't do the work ahead of time to get up the hill, so to speak, of a successful Copilot rollout?
Yeah, so as an example, we had, if I'm thinking of one that top of mind, we had a customer that we were helping specifically around SharePoint, right? They were using SharePoint for their content library, their collaboration, team sites, multiple business units within there, and their primary internal web corporate website, if you will, or home site. So essentially, what we found is the lack of planning, and we came in kind of after they had already enabled the features and tried to build their Copilot program for 365, specifically, again, around SharePoint. But what we found was the data sets that they were using were they were all over the place in disarray. So you had different formatting and data sets that were living in different team sites, in different content libraries, and Copilot was trying to go through and organize all of that. What we found is that a lot of their data was corrupted because it had come from an old SharePoint migration from a third party over to SharePoint. And by that, a lot of their data was corrupted and unmanageable and led ultimately to a very bad experience for them out of the gate. And kind of going through and having, whether you do it internal or you're leveraging a partner or Fast Track or whoever you're using to do that, understanding those risks ahead of time, and these are challenges that you're going to need to get through, that's where you can lean on partners to kind of help you build that plan of, hey, here's gotchas, here's things to look out for. Let's make sure our data integrity is in check, because again, garbage in, garbage out. So it's all about that when it comes to Copilot and the data that it's consuming and how that generative AI is learning based on that data that you're providing it.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for this Tech Talk. Be sure to check. We had a lot of questions from people who want to follow up with US Cloud. Be sure to check the resources on your console. I want to thank Mike Jones and Josh Reyes for an informative conversation. And many, many thanks to US Cloud for making this conversation possible. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye now. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, everyone.